Hello, District 5280 Rotarians. This is District Governor Albert Hernandez here with our podcast, our Rotary Buzz podcast. And we're so excited that we've got Warren Bobrow with us today. And we're going to interview him, learn a little bit more about Warren, all the wonderful work that he does in his club, and also through the Rotary Youth Exchange program. And actually, Warren does so much. So we're going to dive into that right now. Warren, do you want to say hi to everyone?
Hello, everyone. Hello, District 5280. It's great to see you all virtually here.
Warren, so why don't you share a little bit with the district, a little bit about yourself, maybe your family, your profession, just whatever you're comfortable with, just so we can get a better understanding of who we're interviewing today.
Sure. I'm a native Southern Californian. I grew up in Westminster. Went to school here in California. Got my bachelor's at UC Irvine. Zot zot zot. Um, Got a great experience at Irvine. I was on the radio for 4 years, which is why I can chat it in the camera for a little while at a time here. In fact, I used to do the Irvine baseball and basketball games on the radio.
Oh, wow.
And but the best part about that is where my wife Joan. We've been together for 40 plus years now, and got my went to the University of Tennessee where I got my doctorate in industrial and organizational psychology. So I help people get the most out of their work experience and also help management make good decisions about the people they hire and how they do leadership development. Uh, After Tennessee, moved back here to California. Joan was actually finishing up her PhD at UC Riverside at the time. We lived in Fullerton, and that's when I joined my first Rotary Club. Was in winter of 1989. In fact, I remember someone invited me to join Rotary after meeting him at a networking meeting, and I said to him, "Why would I want to join an organization that doesn't admit women?" They said, "Oh no, we admit women now." So it was right after the
Yeah,
all
yeah.
of that went down. So uh, I was a member of that club for 5 years, and then Joan and I moved to the Boston area for 6 years, where I was a member of the Rotary Club of Newton and served as their president.
Hmm.
And then through the wonders of the internet, when we moved back here, because Joan recently retired as a senior behavioral
Oh,
psychologist senior behavioral scientist at the Rand Corporation in Santa Monica. Through the magic of the internet, I found the Rotary Club of Westchester. So I've
hmm.
been in Westchester for 25 years now.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite the story, Ed. Do you remember why you joined? I know someone asked you at a networking, but was there something specifically that hit you that said, okay, I do got to join this Rotary organization?
At that point, I figured out that networking meetings weren't really going to help me build my business,
Okay.
and so I was looking to do a bit more. I mean, I've always worked for myself,
Hmm.
so wanted to get more involved in the community, and if business leads came along, that would be great. But other than that, we were new to Fullerton. I didn't know any people there, so that was really my best chance for us, Joan and I, to make some connections there, as well as find a dentist and a realtor and things like
Yeah,
that.
right, right.
So really wanted to get more connected with the community.
So tell us a little bit about what's happening these days over at the Rotary Club of Westchester. When I think of Westchester, I think of a very strong club, very active, very
Mm,
giving. I mean, your book sale program, your
mm.
big project. I mean, just tell us a little bit about what's been going on lately at your club.
So things are rocking in Westchester. Our club is, as PDG Elsa would say, is very vibrant. Um, we've got a lot of things going on. You're right, the annual book sale every Memorial Day. I think next year is going to be the 68th or 69th year we've done it. Um, we are also gearing up for our 75th anniversary. We're going to have a big woo-ha for that in March. Albert, I'm sure your invitation somewhere is going to be in your email pretty sometime soon. Um, we are very involved in lots of things going on in Westchester. We were recently a participant in the Westchester Arts and Music Festival. One of our members, John Sharp, puts that on, that really highlights artists, young and old, and community businesses, going on there. Um, we are always on the hunt for our every other year extreme makeover project. We've done several of those. Many people listening to this hopefully have participated in those. Um, we've really been moving our meetings more into the community. We meet every other week at the townhouse. Speaking of Extreme Makeover, we do one of our projects there. But also every other week we meet at a local business, the Book Jewel, where that since that's in the evening, it gives a chance for people in the community who maybe can't attend one of our lunch meetings to provide a presentation to us in the evening in a different place. We're very involved with Westside Pacific Villages, which supports senior citizens. In fact, we're getting signed up to deliver Thanksgiving dinner to them in the morning of Thanksgiving. And we do a lot with WPV, and we have some members on the board. Also with working, just was invited to work with the club that's fighting human trafficking, to work with them on writing a global grant that our clubs are going to participate as well.
Wow.
So both internationally and in our community, we've got a lot going on, and we inducted a new member today. So things are happening in Westchester.
That sounds great. Thank you for sharing all that. It sounds like you've been an active member of the Rotary family, over 30 years. And I've been asking this question to everybody who's come on the show, if you can share what your Rotary moment is. Somebody with over 30 years, you probably have had several of them, but is there something, Warren, that comes to your mind or to your heart that says, wow, this is what it's all about?
And you're right, there's a bunch. And I think anyone who's watching or listening to this who's been on a humanitarian trip could go through a million of them. But I'll tell you the one that stands out to me the most is for a very long time, Westchester would host all of the outgoing New Zealand exchange students. They all fly through LAX, and we'd host them for a few days, get them Disneyland tickets and that kind of stuff, which was great. And the only reason we don't do that anymore is due to Air New Zealand's schedule, not us. So after a little while, I started poking around and saying, hey, how can we host one of these kids? So I got linked up with Paul and Melody St. John, who anyone watching this knows how involved in Youth Exchange they are. And one thing led to another. And my wife and I, we hosted a student, Scott Hendricks from Auckland. So one of the things that our Youth Exchange program does is about a couple weeks after all the students have arrived, we have an orientation weekend for them. So since Scott was staying with us, I was the one who would drive him to this orientation weekend. And when we got there, there was probably 30 or 35 inbound Youth Exchange students from between 15 and 20 different countries. And watching these students become instant best friends in 36 hours and just learning about each other and really being peace builders, right? Getting to know students from other cultures and maybe didn't speak their language very well. And just seeing the power of that, of bringing these young people together, it just clicked for me. That's the one that I always think of. And that's why I love going to orientation each year, because it happens every year all over the world. It's not just in this at 5280.
Oh, that's a powerful story. Great. Thank you for sharing that with us. I want to pivot a little bit and start talking a little bit about, or a lot about, Rotary Youth Exchange. When I joined the Governor line a couple of years ago, you were one of the first individuals that reached out, wanted to chat a little bit about Rotary Youth Exchange. And thank you, Warren, and everyone who's walked alongside yourself and bringing such unique experiences for these young adults. So we've got our Rotarians from our district, but we may have some potential members listening to this podcast as well. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what is Rotary Youth Exchange?
Absolutely. Rotary Youth Exchange is a program sponsored for people who are between 15 and 18 and a half. And one program is a summer exchange program where students go overseas for 3 weeks, live with a family, and then a member of that family comes and lives with that student. The one we're primarily involved with in 5280 and with ScanX, and I'll explain that in a second, is it's a program for a full academic year. So when I mentioned Scott, he came over and spent a full academic year in Westchester. Just as when we sent Carlina Ribeiro to Belgium from Westchester. She spent 2 semesters in Belgium learning French, living with a Belgian family, getting to tour around Europe, but more importantly is having this cultural exchange. Because in a lot of the places she was at, she was the only American they'd ever met. All they know about is from our media, and we can have a big conversation whether that's good, bad, or indifferent. Carlene also happened to be African American, so another experience where folks had not interacted with someone like that. So she really had this opportunity to learn about Belgium and Europe, but lots of people there had a chance to learn about her and her experience in Los Angeles. Um, this is one of the oldest programs in Rotary. It's been around since the 20s. What makes it amazing? Well, a lot of things make it amazing. One of the things that makes it amazing is that it operates strictly based upon the generosity of clubs. We are not sponsored by the Rotary Foundation. That allows family members of Rotarians to participate. So that's actually more of a blessing than a curse for us. And I just came back from a conference where they indicated about 7,000 students this year from around the world are going to participate in this program. So we've got students who are out there, and in Scanex, we are hosting a young woman from Ukraine out in Moore Park. So we work with eight other districts in Southern California, Utah, Arizona, and Hawaii. That's what Scanex is. It's a bad acronym for all those states put together. And so we work together to sponsor all of these exchanges going back and forth. It's powerful for Rotary because it's a peace building program. It's powerful for clubs because it's a way to build membership. We have a young woman in my club, Stephanie Daly, who we sent on exchange to Denmark. She's a member of our club. Nancy Langdon, who is the youth exchange officer for our district. She went to Germany on her exchange, and she's the PE for Redondo Beach. Meg Barron, who's a member of LA5, went on Rotary Youth Exchange. So there are several alumni, if you will, of our program everywhere. I know in the Thai-Town Club, they had exchange students who had participated in the program. So it helps build membership, it helps build peace, and really lets have people experience Rotary in a personal way that really lasts them for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Warren, have you seen the number of youth involved in the program? Has it increased, decreased over the last 4.5 years since the pandemic, or what are your observations? I'm just curious.
So it's more than observations. Rotary keeps pretty good data on this.
Okay.
And so I had a chance to hear a presentation on it a month ago. The student population has really bounced back. Before the pandemic, we were sending about 8,500 students a year. We dropped down into the 6,000s for the year or so after, but that's trending back up. I mentioned up in that 7,000 range. I think by next year, the year after, we're going to be back to those 2018, 2019 numbers. I would say, though, that where we really need some more participation is through Rotarians being host families. The number of host families and volunteers in our program worldwide have gone down, and they have not yet bounced back as we've seen with the students. I can tell you from my experience that my wife Joan and I, we have a son, Andy, who lives in Chicago, who's 25 now. When he was growing up, we hosted 4 students. I mentioned Scott earlier. We hosted 3 others. They're like instant big brothers to him. We've gone and traveled to see all of them. One of them who recently, made us an exchange grandparents. I get text messages from about every other day and some really cute baby pictures.
Nice.
So they really it's Rotary Youth Exchange is a family.
Yeah.
And that's a big powerful, and I love for more Rotarians to experience that, because it's not just having the student in your house for 3 to 6 months, but you really add to your family. You really bring someone into your life, and again, it helps us develop future Rotarians.
Yeah. I was going to ask you exactly what are the responsibilities of hosting students. It looks like you touched on that a little bit, but is there anything else that you think?
The big thing with hosting a student is, and a question I always get asked is, you don't get paid for it.
Good to know.
But it's also one of the reasons why our program only costs about 1/3 of the commercial programs like AFS or other programs. It's all run by volunteers. So the cost to families to send their students on exchange, is about $8,000 or $9,000 by the time it's all said and done. And we provide through, thank you, Albert, district grants, partial scholarships as well. So it's very cost effective. As a host family, you're responsible for keeping a roof over their head, a bed to sleep in, meals. It's like having another teenager in your house. The great news about this is these students, because they're selected by Rotary clubs, which are not pulling kids off the street and putting them on a plane for 10 months. But but rather when you host a student, they become integrated in the schools like you wouldn't believe. These are kids who
Right.
want to make friends, who want to experience the culture.
Right.
So if you're a first host family, believe me, within 2 weeks, it's like, hey, can I go with Jose to the homecoming game?
Yeah.
Or I got invited to a party, or I'm going to try out for theater or something. The kids become integrated in school just like regular teenagers do, like that.
Yeah.
And so the host families, it's really a big part of this cultural exchange is what we provide to them. Some structure to their day, obviously get them to school. The club provides them with spending money, so that doesn't come out of the host family's parents or pockets.
Right.
And just really being a guide and a mentor and a sponge of their culture. When we hosted Scott, it was when Obama ran for president, and we had lots of dinner conversations
Yeah.
about democracy in New Zealand versus democracy in the U.S. and
Yeah.
why this is a big deal. I mean, which the whole world kind of knew, but we had those conversations just all the times about differences in culture and how things go, and just
Right.
the experience for my son, was amazing. And like I said, for our family, we're in touch with these students, and as a host family, and Rotarians can host, neighbors can host. It doesn't have to be Rotarians.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's really an opportunity for a lifetime that'll impact your family.
Yeah. I feel like we can go in so many different directions with this topic. But since we're t touching on it, is there an orientation that gets done?
Mhm.
If my family was to welcome a student, what sort of
Right.
orientation, or how would you prepare me to invite
Absolutely.
this young adult
Absolutely.
into our home?
Right. So we definitely bring families along. We want families to succeed when they host. So when you express interest in hosting, and maybe we can edit this in later on, Albert, but Nancy Langdon is the person to contact. She is the Youth Exchange Officer for 5280. She has lots of conversations with the families about what it means to host a student.
Hmm.
Um, Through sort of a professional organization that we belong to called NAN. We provide materials and some host family training through that. And Nancy, as the YEO, will provide host family orientation for all of the host families in 5280. We want them to
Yeah.
work together as a mini village, if you will.
Right.
Um, and Nancy, as the YEO, and of course myself and other people in 5280, work with the host families, answer all their questions. In fact, one of our second orientation um, for uh, for outbound students, since most of the outbound
Hmm.
students' families host, is we spend a lot of time on what it is to be a host family, what your
Yeah.
responsibilities are,
Yeah.
along with the club counselors. So there's not just like, oh, go read this and you'll be fine, but a lot of interaction with folks who've done it before. Nancy's actually the triple crown of Rotary Youth Exchange. She went on exchange, she's been a host mom, and her daughter went on exchange. So she really provides that information 360 degrees. She really provides great information to people, and myself and Jim Jackman and Paul and Melody. There's lots of great resources
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
5280 to get
Yeah.
folks ready to go for it.
I remember last year at one of our district breakfasts, I think we had some of the youth exchange students. I think it was last
We
April,
have Vlad and
and
Sasha.
Warren, one of them was from Ukraine, I believe.
Two of them were.
Two of both, yes. And I had chills, and I'm getting chills about right now just remembering because when they introduced themselves and said they were from Ukraine, I just remember our entire Rotary district that was present, round of applause, stood up for them. It was I really believe that this program does unite countries and gives us a better understanding of the successes or the challenges or the opportunities for growth that some other countries are going through. So
Mhm.
truly is a powerful program that I think we should be supporting 100%, 110%. So with that said, I know you mentioned the need for Rotary host families. What other ways can our club support this initiative?
Um, Number one is host families is really our limiting factor. But the second one is this is our recruiting time, is because there's an application process that's due at the end of this year, December 31st,
Mhm.
for the students to go on exchange next August, because we want to prepare them just like we
Right,
prepare the host families.
right.
So as I mentioned before, sons and daughters of Rotarians, nieces or nephews are eligible because we're not funded by the Rotary Foundation.
Yeah.
Um, Looking for at schools, it can be through Interact Club. I would say probably about 40 to 50% of the students we send are interactors.
Hmm.
Mia Nishimura, who was at that breakfast as well,
Yeah.
she went on exchange to Germany. And a great representative of our district. She's a fabulous young woman. Um, So, talking to your interactors, the students you're thinking of
Yeah.
sending to RILA are great opportunities.
Excellent.
If you have club members in schools and there's a guidance counselor that says, yeah, Albert is really great at languages, has a great interest in other cultures. I mean, that's a student we want to talk to.
Yeah.
Is And also, if you work with after school programs, those who've worked with A Place Called Home in South Central,
Oh yeah.
we provided district grants to send 3 students from A Place Called Home
Mm.
on exchange, and they did amazing. And had an incredible experience. So it's really a young person, doesn't have to be a 4.5 student, just a student who's motivated, who has real curiosity,
Mm.
and is going to be a good representative of Rotary.
Yeah.
And from there, we will take it. The other thing is, you mentioned Ukraine. Is as much as I hate to say it, we'll still be hosting kids from Ukraine on a one-way basis next year, I'm afraid. If there's a club in Moore Park, like I said, that's hosting a girl, Maria, right now on a one-way basis. Any club can host a Ukrainian student next year on a one-way basis, even if they don't send a student out, because we're going to have that need. So look for those, just as we identify great students to lead our Interact clubs and join and go to RILA. Those students are prime examples of those who will make great youth exchange students.
Great.
I'll also say regarding the students is they graduate on time. Because they typically go their junior or senior year. Every student from 5280 to who we've sent on exchange who wanted to graduate on time has graduated on time.
Wow.
And I think of the 3 girls from A Place Called Home. They went their senior years. One girl got admitted to Connecticut University, and she's still in Connecticut. She works as a CSI area. Another one got admitted to USC. Another one to UCLA. I mentioned Stephanie Daly before. She wrote her college papers from her host family's home, the room she was staying in. She did okay. She got admitted to UCLA and Mount St. Mary's in Brown. I mean, kids are always looking for ways to differentiate themselves on their college application.
Oh yeah.
Saying you spent a year abroad.
Oh yeah.
It's a cut above. It's magic. Some students go their junior year. We have a few who do a gap year with it, but they stay on track. The schools are really good with working with us, both whether we're talking public school or charter school, or in some cases private school.
Yeah, it's amazing. Where is there any last words of wisdom or anything you'd like to share with the district and those that are listening?
Yep. Youth exchange is just such a great way to be involved both in your community and internationally. We are bringing the world together when we do youth exchange. A former RI president used to say, if every high school student went on exchange, there wouldn't be any wars. He's a little more optimistic than I am, but the point's well taken. We only fight with whom we do not understand. And Rotary Youth Exchange creates understanding around the world. And every Rotarian can make it happen by sponsoring a student and hosting a student. And every club in our district can participate in doing that.
Yeah. Warren, what an honor to be able to interview you tonight and listen to the powerful work that Rotary Youth Exchange is doing. I'm so thankful that we've got the team of Warren and Nancy Langdon here. If anybody's interested in learning more, how you can contribute, whether it's by making a referral, recommendation of a young adult and participating, or perhaps a monetary donation, feel free to reach out to Warren or Nancy. I'm going to put their both contact information in the comment section on this podcast. But thank you, sir, for all that you've done. You've changed the lives of so many young adults, and for that, we're better district. And thank you for all that you've done. It means a lot to us.
My pleasure. Youth Exchange appreciates the support of 5280.
You got it, Warren. All right, everyone. Thank you for listening, and we'll get back to you next week with a new speaker. Warren, have a wonderful week, and go Dodgers.
Go Dodgers. Thanks, Albert. All right.
That you're my best friend.